Hey guys, are you a classic high achiever? If you don't back down from a challenge, if you take on more than your fair share of responsibility because you know you can handle it, and if you are showing up and giving your best effort in everything you touch to make a good life for yourself and your loved ones, you just may be wired as a classic high achiever. And while that may sound like a badge of honor, in today's episode, we're shedding light on both sides of that badge because it ain't always roses and rainbows carrying around that high achiever DNA. For all you BAs out there, let's go. So, we are talking the three pros and the three cons of being a high achiever, also known as a BA, Beyond Awesome. Ha! Gotcha, guys. Come on, I got to keep it family friendly here. I thought that was really good. That requires a lot of effort from me, okay? So I love this idea and this classification of a high achiever. This is a characteristic that is such an ingrained piece of the DNA. And I just feel like this is something we've all seen in action. So, few examples it's the student that takes on a full course load and then just one more, because then they can graduate early if they do just one more every single semester. It's the athlete that stays for just 5 more minutes to do one more lap or take 5 more shots at the goal. It's the employee, and I feel this one. It's the employee that shows up early, stays late, never says no to taking on another project, even though they are already doing the job of at least three other people, but they still say yes with a big smile on their face because they know if anybody can get the job done, they can. It's the business owner that knows they've got their company's biggest deal on the table. So they are putting every last ounce of human effort possible, somehow, like actually working 24 hours a day, just to guarantee that that deal gets signed, sealed, and across the finish line. Or how about this one? It's the mom who is coordinating 100 different activities for her family, somehow still finding time to cook dinner, keep up with the family's hygiene ish, and create time and joy for the ones that she loves. I think there's a little high achiever in a lot of us. And I got to say that while these high achiever cool kids, like they seem to have their lives figured out, or they seem to have lives that others maybe would consider pretty darn wonderful, or maybe even put together or perfect from the outside perspective, there are always two sides to the story. As an associated high achiever, I can personally tell you that while my life is absolutely beautiful on the outside, I still have great struggles that wrestle in my soul. And several of them absolutely have to do with that double edged sword of being a high achiever. So, what I wanted to do is, I just wanted to share three ways that being a high achiever is such a beneficial characteristic, but then also just shed some light on the weight that comes with it. Because after all, too, like this is unjuggle the struggle. So I will make sure that I touch on at least three ways too that I've become more aware of this and how I'm unjuggling some of this high achiever identity stuff. So before I'm getting into this, like I'm sitting here and I'm just thinking, why should you care? Like, why would you want to keep listening, whether you are or you're not an associated high achiever? And I would say it's because this is a message of love for all of the high achievers out there who everyone thinks they've got everything together, but they know at night, behind closed doors, they're losing sleep, they're exhausted, and they're still worried about how they're going to show up again tomorrow to do the same thing over again with the same smile on their face and the same energy that they gave it today. And I just want you to know you're an amazing human being and you're not alone. You can absolutely be a high achiever, a totally beyond awesome person and still struggle. And I'm in it with you. So here's my take. And I guess my hope is just that even just one of these three things kind of lands for you. Okay. So first high achiever characteristic that comes to mind, and what the outside sees versus what may be going on the inside. We are goal and task and accomplishment oriented. So on the outside, this makes our high achiever long game second to none. We have the ability to see the forest through the trees, and our perseverance to see the task through. It's absolutely unmatched. Like we get stuff done, all of the stuff. And we find great satisfaction in doing so. It's like the project at work, for instance, in the example, it's the one that you took on while still doing the job of three other people. You get that sucker done, and it feels like someone is handing you a gold star. You don't most of the time actually get a gold star, but it still feels good to know that you did the task and that you again showed up as that reliable person that you want to be. I know that's how it's felt for me. Now, on the inside, in that same situation, like being task and goal and accomplishment oriented, it has led me to some struggles when not knowing how or when to quit. Even if the project goes sideways or the relationship is dead or we've lost the passion, like we persevere because we've adopted this mentality that, for instance, quote, winners don't quit, even if it's to our own detriment. And I was reading something the other day. This reminds me of a story about folks who climb Everest. So obviously, they probably have a little high achiever in them. What I found so interesting, though, is how many people have died in their pursuit to reach the Everest summit. Died, guys. So you can imagine, like, I envisioning this experienced climber. They're all bundled up in their Everest gear. They're feeling totally prepared for this climb because they've put in the training. Obviously, that's how they got there. They've put in the reps. They know all the right things to do, and they can just smell the sweet victory of that mountaintop. Well, the climber becomes so fixated on reaching the top that even with a team of other experienced climbers advising and begging them to turn around, the high achiever perseveres forward. As of the date of this podcast, 340 people have died on their quest of Everest. And well, of course, I feel like I have to throw this disclaimer out there that obviously I wasn't there. I don't know all the details of the circumstances, and not in any way, shape, or form am I downplaying the severity of the situation. The intent is that I just feel like this example is it perfectly reflects like where there are times in our lives that our perseverance could come at the price of literally death because we just didn't know when to quit. So maybe even a question for you, like, what is your Everest? And I ask myself this all the time. Like, is there a task or a goal or an accomplishment or a dream even in your life that you have designated as the peak, the high point that you're striving for? And if if it's sitting at that peak, like, is it worth your life? Are you are you willing to still put that at the top of the list if it was? And sure, like for most of us, it won't be Everest. Like maybe it's the promotion or the proposal or the, fill in the blank, whatever it is. If at any point in time we just need to quit, like it's okay. And I know that that's a totally controversial opinion, but I tell you, like quitting isn't about winning or losing. For me, I think back just a few times in my life where quitting absolutely 1000% meant freedom. It meant more life. So I'll get into that later too, because that's such a, this whole idea of quitting, it's such a near and dear topic to my heart. But for the sake of keeping on with the high achievers, the second characteristic, yeah, I think that most high achievers, we see the challenge, we trailblaze through the fear, and we just buckle in for the bumpy ride. So on the outside, what this looks like, it looks like we are dedicated beyond measure and we're willing to do the tasks that others, quite frankly, back down from. We know that good things come to those who push through adversity, and we totally have this mentality that a challenge only makes us stronger in the end. But on the inside, and I know it and I've done it, I have taken a beating to some of my own goals and values and visions just in order to continue to show up for the task or for those around me. Like, I think that we bear the weight of knowing how much others depend on us and refuse to accept anything that may feel like defeat or like we've let someone down. I'm thinking about a time where I got this crazy idea that it was really important to me all of a sudden to go back to school and get my master's degree. Of course, I was already in middle management, running several teams like, nationally at my corporate job, and taking on any type of secondary education with the workload. Like that seemed like something, of course, only a high achiever would sign up for. Well, challenge accepted. Let's go. I continued to show up for my teams at work while studying like a crazy person to take the entrance exam. And then, of course, naturally, it all of a sudden was peak season. Round of layoffs hit. I absorbed another team. And oh, yeah, I also happened to find out I was pregnant. Yay, confetti. So, with the road ahead being full of more bumps than I could possibly count, like I attempted to manage through it all the best I could and just study as time allowed. I darn well knew the day I walked in to take that entrance exam that I wasn't ready and that chances were slim, but I still wanted to at least take the exam I had signed up for. If you're thinking that this story somehow miraculously ends where I pulled a passing score out of my butt, yeah, no, definitely did not. Cold, hard, big, fat fail. Like, and it just, I look back and it's like, it's so crazy. I wasn't willing to let everyone else down. I accepted the challenge, I trailblazed ahead, but I carried that weight that absolutely impacted my ability to passionately pursue that dream of an additional degree for myself. I don't have regrets and everything works out exactly how it's supposed to. But what I got a lot better at over time was just learning to set better boundaries that protected my time and my energy in a way that actually allowed me to better balance and create space for lots of things. Like I've learned that saying no or even simply speaking up to just better communicate what I needed. For instance, it would be things like, and hey, please steal this word tracks if you need it. It would be things like, hey, I can't take on that project and get it, or hey, I can take on that project and I can get it done, but it won't be done, Mr. Boss, by the date that you mentioned. Help me understand the timelines and let's come up with something that realistically works for all of us. Boom. Like there's some serious power in that kind of an approach versus just saying yes and finding some way somehow that you're going to get it done. So set boundaries that protect your dreams too. I believe it's absolutely possible. And then the third characteristic that just comes to mind is I think the high achievers, man, we want more. So on the outside, we stay hungry. We're always asking for the next project or volunteering for the next sign up. We will overcommit in the moment and again, somehow, some way, move mountains to deliver and perform. We want to be the best spouse, we want to be the best employee, we want to be the best parent, the best friend, etc. And then on the inside, sometimes even absolutely unknown, I think to our own consciousness, we'll continue to stack on responsibility after responsibility in hopes that one day it'll pay off. Our hearts get locked into this vision and never ending cycle of the one day syndrome. And if you're anything like me, I've noticed that one day, like, oh, one day our dreams will come true. One day I won't have to work so hard. One day we'll have enough money. One day, like, I've noticed that one day seems to be this lifelong dream that maybe we believe is the result of our works, but it doesn't actually have anything to do with our works. Like the happy place, the end goal. Usually, the dream of loved ones like running around happy and carefree, or, heck, you sitting on a beach sipping pina coladas or exploring the world, like, or just even a beautifully connected legacy of love and giving and hope. Like, those are the things that one day is connected to, not like one day I'll get this project done. And then you totally forget about it a year from now. So I want more too. In fact, it's all over my social media pages about how like I passionately pursue this more kind of lifestyle. I am so hungry, but I think one thing I've gotten a lot better at is just the recognition that my worth is not tied to my works. So I'm hungry for more connection and willing to passionately pursue that. I'm hungry to make a difference through grace and kindness and love, not through the next assigned work project. So I've aligned my more to things my soul is feeling called for instead of some of the worldly pursuits I once was convinced would get me to one day. So, friends, like one day, it's absolutely here and now. Like, this is the day that was created for us. This is the moment. You are here for a reason with a purpose. And I can't wait to see who you get to become along the way in your own journey. I'll leave you with this. So, the dictionary, unfortunately, it defines a high achiever as, quotes, someone who achieves success, especially through effort, end quote. What kind of crap is that? Like, when our efforts alone define us, the internal wrestling will continue to battle in search of actual worthiness. The good news is that there is hope for us high achievers. You look at and think about some of the world's highest achievers, like we're talking of the Oprahs of the world, okay? I mean, so many of them have shared that they found peace in their innate and deep purpose and reconnecting with that, not necessarily through their works. So to recap, just the three things I think, us three high achievers, something I've learned along my journey, just to make sure that we're not working ourselves to death trying to take on all of the things or be all of the things to everyone. Number one, I would just say, let's be really aware and intentional about what we're putting at the top of the mountain. Our our Everest summits, are they the things we really want to be and willing to give our lives to? And if not, let's reframe our perspective on quitting. Number two, set boundaries that still allow us to take on new challenges that excite us while also leaving time for the things that we want most for ourselves and the things and the people that like we want to stay connected to. And then number three, just recognizing that one day syndrome, it doesn't deserve all the work you're willing to put into it. And there is so much beauty and life here today, right now in front of us. So this day was made for you. Cherish that. I got to ask, challenge accepted? Go get 'em, high achiever. Bye.